Hello, everybody. Just kind of letting some people get in here. I'm going to be going over, well, I guess I could just show you kind of what we're going to be going over. Those of you that are in the boaters program have seen some of this stuff. Those of you that have not, you have not seen this yet. So this is a 22-foot boat. It's a 2004. Let me share it so that way you can see exactly the boat that we're going to be talking about and what we did to this boat. Let's go with this, share that. Okay. And if you can't see it or it's blurry, let me know. Anything else that you guys want to talk about outside of this, drop it in the chat. We will also talk about miscellaneous stuff. I'll try and keep an eye on the chat to see what's going on. But those of you that have not seen this, unless you're in a program, like if you're a boaters program member, then you have seen this boat because we just spent all of last month going over it, and all of this content is going to be out upcoming months. Probably a lot of next month. I don't know. There's like 24 videos or something like this. So this boat is a 2004. It is a 220 Dauntless Boston Whaler. It has been sitting. It has been sitting for, I don't know, like 12 years. It sat in a rack getting sunburned, caked, totally oxidized. It was pretty terrible. Yeah, tons of videos coming out next month. This is it. It is got a 225 Verado on the back of it. All the cushions were ragged out. Console was ragged out. Everything on this boat was totally oxidized. Radio that I ripped out of there. Old Clarion, Navman, VHF. So this is just some of the stuff that was on it. This whole panel. We went through this whole panel here. Um, a lot of the rigging was all trashed and a lot of wiring needed to be replaced, and also a bunch of stuff like all this was broken. All these gas shocks were busted, the latches were busted, and these parts, all this stuff right here was all rusted and busted and all that stuff. So the boat was in really rough shape. Anchor line totally moldy, nasty, everything busted on the boat. Here's some of the pictures of like the console as we're going through the console. That's after a short polish that started to shine up. The inside of the console had this fabric stuff, which is totally, this stuff was terrible. I could not get this stuff clean. Um, all that mold, I mean, I got it pretty clean from that. And then also, if you notice this thing here, this was a hassle. So this whole compartment right here is what's covering. This is the horn, and these are the speakers, and they had them on like this. So they had these backer plates with the speakers through bolted to them, and then that whole cover was then attached onto these backing plates. Same thing for the horn. So that was a whole thing to deal with. And then also, I was very surprised there was actually quite a bit of wood in the boat as well. So that's the boat that we're talking about. Here's the console after getting some of it polished up and cleaned up. And then all these are going to be coming out. These videos are going to be coming out. Here's the cushions that we had done. So here's all the cushions. We had a diamond pattern down the middle. Sides are all flushed out. Back looks really clean. Back seat had those all made. Front, all the front cushions. It's what those ended up looking like. Put a new cooler in there. That's what the dash started to look like after painting it, getting it done. GPS we added on there. So that's the boat that I'm going to be going over. Also, we went ahead and put a jack plate. So it's got Seastar jack plate as well as a 10-foot Minn Kota Raptor. So basically, a Raptor's like a power pole. Only this thing's actually pretty sick. It looks really clean. I was really surprised about it. I actually really like the way this thing performed. So that's that jack plate. And then this is kind of what the boat looked like after I got a lot of it cleaned up beforehand. That's just a rub rail. So now you guys can kind of see what boat we're talking about and what it looked like before. And then here's just kind of after. This was a wet sand and a cut and a polish. So this is what the boat looks like now, like the front of it. That's how shined up it came back, all that gel coat. The console, same thing. That totally shined up. The horn shined up. This acrylic door, all that stuff shined right up. I mean, it took a lot to get it to that point, but you're going to see how many hours that we put in there, as well as all these parts that got put on the boat. That's the boat. Moving it over to get pressure washed. Here's the boat before it got the bottom paint. So we bottom painted the boat, but you can see the sides. All the words came off of it. All the decals, all that stuff came right off of it. Took a lot of work, but a lot of it came off. And here we just bottom painted it. So it went black. Same thing with this rail. The rail all shined up nice again. And let's see here. I put a 300 on there just to try it, to play with it. It had 1,660 hours on it. We took that off and put the 104 hour 225 back on it. So that's how many hours were on the boat, which is why it shined up as much as it did, because it only had 100 hours on it. And here's what the boat looks like in the water. Looks really, really clean in the water. Jack plate, all the cushions, everything shiny, all the metal is shiny. This is kind of not the best picture because of the shade. This bimini top, I was just playing around with it. That doesn't really go there. As you can see, I had it like just one bolt on there, just so that way I could see what it would look like, because the boat is big enough. It really needs to have two bimini tops to get shade over the front person as well as in the cockpit area. But that's why that bimini top is like that. I was just playing around with it. That is not how it ended up staying. Here is the console to it. That's what it looks like after, which again, that's shady, so you can't really see how clean it looks. Front, same thing, just came out really, really nice. And this boat rides ridiculously nice too. So that's the boat we're talking about. That's what's all in it. Now, as far as what we got in the boat, here is all of the parts. So I have all the parts listed out that we put in the boat. I have all of the prices that I put in it. I have how many parts we ended up putting into it, as well as all the labor over here on the side. I have exactly how many days I worked on it, how much time I spent that day, how many hours in the day. So I have all this broken down so we can go over this. I'm just going to run over the parts list real quick, just so you can kind of get an idea of what all went into it. So right here we had two bait centuries, so two live well pumps, $158 a piece, 316. I did not entirely pay MSRP for all this stuff, but I did this with MSRP. So that way you guys would get a very good idea of, if you are trying to do something like this, this is what it's going to cost you. Because if you're just ordering this stuff online, going to Amazon, going to the dealer, going to the marina, going to wherever, this is what the prices are going to be MSRP for that boat. Again, for those of you that did not see the boat, we just went over, I don't know, the first 10 minutes or so. We kind of went over some pictures of the boat, so you can go back and see those pictures if you missed that. Right now we're going to go over these parts. So it got really got 4 cup holders. It did not get 5. So these are just cup holders, polishing pads, compounding pad, cutting compound, cutting polish, the stainless steel top mount side. So I think that is the ankle light, or I mean the navigation lights. So this is my nav lights. These are the anchor light. These are the vents that go in the back. Those you probably didn't get to see. I don't think I have any pictures of those. It got a new rule flow switch, 2 battery trays. We got a new battery switch, a 12-volt socket. It got 5 resettable buttons. So there's the button covers. So like a 2-pack of those. And these are just, let me show you what those are. Those boots that go on your switches. So all these. So all those boots, boom, boom, boom. They come in a 2-pack. So you got 5 2-packs, all those boots. That's what those are. The barrel nuts. So this is the nuts for that compartment to put that compartment back into place. Where is that compartment? So you can see, not this one. So this whole compartment was ripped out. So all these hinges had to get new hinges. The thing went through a hurricane. It blew this compartment off and it twisted all the hinges. So those hinges are on there, but those are what the inserts are. Those 1/4-20 inserts. Latch, soft draws. That's just for the back of the live well. Got a new VHF, 2 Fusion speakers, Fusion MSR A210, $377 for that thing. Got a courtesy light, a filter bracket, which was just the water separator bracket. So that's what that is. The hose barbs for the water separator bracket, the sealant, a new washdown. See here, what else? Circuit breakers. So there was 3 breakers that were bad, or 2 breakers that were bad. So I got 2 sets of breakers, some heat shrink, a bunch of step down butt connectors, heat shrinks, more heat shrinks, plastic bowl for the filter, a new fuel filter, water separator, 90-degree elbows, the gas lift springs. So those gas springs for that compartment were $34 a piece. The brackets for that. So that's the brackets that go on those gas shocks. Got one of those, which comes in a 2-pack. So that's $15.49. The 10-foot Raptor, which is basically that power pole. It's a Minn Kota Raptor. That thing was $2,039. And then the jack plate, which is the HD jack plate for Seastar, which that thing is really, really good. I mean, I was definitely happy with that. That thing was $2,300. And then also the Raptor plate to kick it off to the side. That plate, you have to have that to hook it to the jack plate. That was $326. And that is this plate right here. So that plate right there. Let me get a better picture of that. This. So that plate right there. So whenever you put a jack plate on there, the power pole or the Raptor is going to mount directly to the jack plate. You can obviously do it to the transom, something like that. I don't want to put it to the transom. This is just always really easy to do. So that's what that plate is. And then here's your 10-foot Raptor. So that Raptor was $2,300, and or I mean two grand for the Raptor, 340 bucks for the bracket to put that thing on there. And then this jack plate was like $2,400, which it's a really nice jack plate. I do like the Seastar jack plate. It's surprisingly really good, but that's what all 3 of those are. Some cable outlets. Oh, also that picture, those vents that I was just talking about. That's what these are right here. That's where those vents go. So I just got, vent covers, new ones to go there. That's what those are. Those vent covers we looked at earlier. Then an antenna, new VHF antenna, new compass. Compass was $100. New key switch, new breakers, new contra switches. Some of the navigation switches busted. Some clamshells, $4.50. Scupper valves, through hull fittings. The seal kit, which was for the steering cylinder, we had to rebuild a steering cylinder for it. And then parts cleaner, those door hinges that I was talking about, they came in 2-pack. They were $36 a piece. And then another rocker switch. So those are all the parts that went into the boat, which brought a total of the parts, ended up being $8,988 plus your sales tax, $674. And then the cushions that got put on there, there was 4 cushions in the front, 1 cushion on the cooler, 1 cushion on the front of the console, 1 on the backrest of the helm, and then 1 on the helm itself, and then 4 cushions in the back, or no, 4 cushions in the back. So, I mean, that's quite a bit of cushions. So that was $2,800 for those cushions, which brought, and then also I spent $480 on the credit card, $706 on the Amazon. So total parts, we had $13,650 in parts for the whole boat. So the whole 22-foot boat with all those parts ended up being $13,650 just in the parts to put this thing together. Now, the Amazon, let me see if I got any pictures of the console. Like, okay, here we go. So stuff that I bought on Amazon is like the amplifier, put an amp in there, put clamshells. A lot of that stuff was what we got. RCA cables got from West Marine, 14-2 wire got from West Marine, spacers to lift the amp off of that. So, a lot of that miscellaneous stuff, I bought a lot of that stuff off Amazon, and then, zip ties, all that stuff. So that's what actually the console ended up starting to look like. I don't have any pictures of it completely done, but you'll see all those videos when it comes out. But that's what a lot of that miscellaneous Amazon purchases were amplifier. And actually this right here, this is funny because that fitting is actually a drain scupper. So like, in the back of your boats where the deck drains are, you can get those scupper valves. And I just took the rubber pieces out of the scupper valve and I used that to make that pass through for all those wires to come through, because you just don't want to cut a hole in this fabric, because if you do that, then this fabric is just going to, it's going to be a problem, because you've got, it's fabric. It'll rip, it'll tear, it'll widen, and it won't be any good. So that's what that is a drain scupper. So doing a little bit of ingenuity right there. Now, so that is what we had for Amazon credit card. Yeah, we got 13,650. Now, as far as the time that went into it, so if you are going to do this job yourself, let's say you've got a 22-foot boat and this is what you want to do, that's about what you're going to be looking like, depending on what you want. Like, obviously, you can bring this down a lot. You can get rid of that power pole or the Raptor. You can get rid of the jack plate. You can save yourself $5,000 right there. So if you take that $5,000 out, you're going to be down to $8,000 in the whole project. So there's a lot of things that you can do. And if you wanted to make your own cushions, you could probably make your own cushions for $500, which is going to save you a whole lot of money. And yes, but that's what all I did on it. So if you're going to do this project yourself, that's what you're going to be looking like. Now, as far as the time goes, here's the next factor of, if you're going to do something like this, if you're going to pay someone to do something like this, this is what you're looking like. Because I don't really think there's anybody out there that's going to take on a project like this that doesn't do it like by the hour, because there's so many things that go into the boat. Like, if you're going to do it, I highly doubt you can find a place that's going to be like, oh yeah, we'll do it for $5,000. Because when you get into it and you start adding stuff, drain scuppers, all these parts, you start adding all this stuff, it adds up quick, and everything is time. So, just the detail alone was like a 4-day, 5-day detail. So wet sand, a cut, a compound, the polish, the wax, like it was, it's a week right there. It's probably like a $4,000 detail just on the boat. So it ended up taking me, so I got 8 hours, 7.5 hours, 7, 5, 6, 3, 8, 6, 4, 2.5, 2. So a lot of these days I was doing other stuff in the beginning, which a lot of this is the first day, finding all the parts, ordering all the parts, getting everything that I need to get, and then letting all that stuff trickle in, and then taking everything apart. And then that's kind of what those days look like in the beginning. But then by about the second week, then it's got 10.5 hours, 12.5 hours, 11.5 hours, 8 hours, 2.25, 4.75, 9.5 hours, 10.5 hours, 10 hours, 9 hours, 7.5 hours, 10 hours, 11.75 hours. And the total was 178.25 hours. So I had 180 hours in it. And if you were to pay somebody, I just did this based on, like, if you were to take it to a shop and do something like this, I mean, if you can find a shop that's $100 an hour, like, that's kudos to you, because a lot of shops are pushing $200, if not more. I mean, I think some Marine Maxes are like $245 an hour. So doing a project like that, this is the big problem. This is the big problem that everybody has a problem with, because in order to do something like that and to take a boat that's been sitting for that long and do that much work into it with the rewiring and the switches and the dash and the cushions and the compound and the cutting and the jack plates and like adding all this stuff in there, it's very time consuming. So we got 180 hours in like 3 weeks. So if you're at $100 an hour, that's what you're going to be looking like to redo a boat like that for a 22-foot boat, to pay someone to do it. Now, if you can do all this stuff yourself, boom, you're good. You're golden. So, you're going to save yourself there. But I had to put a number on it, because that's something that people are going to want to know is, if I paid someone to do it, that's what it's going to end up costing. It's going to look like that. So if you take that at $100 an hour and you put it all together, $13,650 for just our parts. And then we've got $17,825 for the labor. So in order to redo a boat like that without repowering it, just get the thing going, you're looking at almost a $30,000 job. So that's the kicker right there, is all the labor, because at 180 hours, that's what you want, that's the issue. That's what no one wants to pay for. They want the boat to look like it looks when we're done, but no one wants to realize that it takes 180, 200 hours to redo just a 22-foot boat. That's not even anything else. So that's a single engine 22-foot boat, and it took 180 hours. And that is not doing a fuel tank, a transom, stringers, anything like that. That's not doing any fiberglass work. That is just a straight up clean the boat and then detail it. So that is actually, that's probably pretty rough. If you are going to do, like, just take these numbers and think about like a 28-foot boat or a 25-foot boat with twins, or even like a 30-foot boat. This number is going to go way up, because you're not going to be able to do it in 180 hours. You're going to be doing it in 300 hours, 400 hours. And that's what's going to take this number and skyrocket it. And then if you put a new engine on there, which, I mean, the value of the boat, it's probably a $40,000 boat, somewhere in there. So, I mean, it's well worth it, but it was not a repower. It did not need a new engine. It has 104 hours on the boat, which, I mean, what it came out looking like is for 100 hours, it looks great. The cushion work was really good. Everything else came out really, really clean. So, yeah. That's, for a boat like that, that's what you're going to be probably looking like, as far as, just in general, what your cost is going to be. You're probably at, depending on what you do. I mean, you don't have to do a jack plate with the Raptor though, but 22-foot boat to look like this, you're going to be probably 20, 30 grand to redo it. Now, if you could do it yourself, then you're going to save a ton of money. Now, let me see here. Let's go ahead. I'm going to look at a couple comments, see what you guys got going on over here. Let's see here. Search up speedboats, vids of this build coming soon. Yeah, absolutely. So this boat, the build of this is going to be out next month. I did pretty much all of it in one shot. So it's probably going to be like a daily thing. So there'll probably be 24 videos, I think. I mean, I was on it 25 days. So yeah, there'll be like 24 videos, and they're all going to be every day. So every day you're going to see exactly what we did for the day, what it took to do it, and like all that stuff. So you're going to see the whole project like in a daily mode. So we'll see how that does. And if you guys like that, you have to let me know. Chuga, best channel on YouTube. Unfortunately, I can't watch it live because I'm at work, but definitely will check it out tonight. Well, thank you, Chuga. Maverick can't wait. Awesome, Maverick. No Chaparral boat. Do not have a Chaparral boat. Mole Man says I want to do a new project. I mean, yeah, a new project. They're definitely worth doing. I like doing them. I'd like to do more of them. Totally would like a place to do them. But yeah. Proyecto Campe, following you. Awesome vids. Congrats. Thank you, Proyecto. Maverick, any vids on the Key West left? So yeah, on the Key West, we've got so let me see here. The Key West is gonna be the detail. So I'm detailing it right now. Let's get a bimini top put on there. So there's gonna be a bimini top, and then put it in the water and do a bunch of stuff on the water. So there's gonna be like another 4 or 5 videos come out on the Key West, just finishing up, running around with it, doing some trailer stuff. There's some miscellaneous videos on the Key West coming out. Did you get all of that from Land and Sea? So no, a lot of the parts. Well, I mean, yeah. So it's totally dependent on the price of the parts. Let me go ahead and share that again so I can kind of tell you. It's totally dependent on the parts. Some of the stuff, some of the parts are totally like they're gonna be cheaper on Land and Sea. So like bait well pumps, the drink holders, a lot of that stuff is going to be Land and Sea. But then a lot of the electronics and the wiring is going to come from like Port Supply and CED Marine, and the cooler we got from Arctic, the amp we got from Amazon, the stereo. I want to say that ended up coming from Land and Sea. I think they had the cheapest price. So a lot of what we do with the price is just go through and compare. So the Raptor, the jack plate, and the Raptor bracket, that all came from Land and Sea because just the discount that was there. Like I looked up, I'm not gonna tell you exactly what it was from Land and Sea, because if you have a Land and Sea account, your discount is gonna totally depend on how much stuff you buy. So like, depending on how much stuff you buy is gonna be how much you get, like your discount. It's gonna vary. The more stuff you buy, the bigger your discount gets. So this Raptor, we had the Port Supply discount was only like, or I don't even think it was a Raptor. I think we looked up a Power Pole, and it was only like $100 off MSRP with the Port Supply, whereas this one was significantly less coming from Land and Sea with the discount. So yeah, that did come from Land and Sea. So it's kind of like a, going back and forth on depending, what exactly it is. That was part of the first day and the second day, really I had almost an entire day just sitting in front of the computer, looking up parts, getting part numbers, ordering the parts, comparing all the prices. So, you factor that in too, because I count that time. I mean, that's time you spend on the boat. So like out of the 178 hours, there might have been 16 hours of that just solely looking for parts and getting parts. I mean, maybe even more. I mean, it might have been a little bit more just because, going to get stuff like some of the stuff from Boston Whaler I had to get from I had to get it from a Marine Max. So I had to drive to Marine Max and pick up the parts and then drive back, which, that's a 2-hour endeavor there. So, some of the stuff, yeah, you might have 16, 20 hours just in finding and ordering parts on projects this big. But yeah, totally depends on the price. Gorilla, you always do amazing work. Thank you, Gorilla. Thank you, Pablo. Matthew Hammond says, man, I wanted to restore a Seacraft so bad, but this reason is why I just bought an 07 Tidewater ready to go. Yeah, I mean, 100%. If you get a boat that you don't have to go through, sometimes there's a lot to be said about that as far as like spending the money and whether or not you want to buy something that's used or do you want to, get something and put a ton of work into and do it the way you want to do it? And let's see here. Andrew Rotz says, anything specific in your list you recommend leaving to a pro versus doing it yourself? That's a really good question, Andrew. So, I mean, I guess it really depends on your time and your skill set. Like the cushions, I didn't do the cushions. We paid $2,100 and had someone else do the cushions. So, like, that's something that I left off that you could just outsource that. The detailing, but detailing's, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So, depending if you want to put that work in, that's something that you could outsource. But everything else, putting the live well pumps in, putting the drink holders in, spray painting the dash, putting the nav lights in, a lot of it was just taking everything apart, seeing what's broken, and then putting it back together with the new stuff. So it's not really as difficult, I think, as it might seem. It's just a very daunting task because there's so much stuff. 180 hours, that's kind of it. You break that down over a period of time. So let's say you only get Saturdays and like 2 hours a night to work on it. So, and you probably don't even get that every night. So if you got 2 hours every night after work to work on the boat, that's what, 10 hours? And then you get one day on Saturday, and let's say you only work 8 hours just for the sake of it. So 18, 180 divided by 18, that's going to take you 10 weeks. So, over the course of 3 to 6 months, it's going to take you to do a project like this. And that's if you're like going into it. And it's probably going to take a lot more because if you're doing it that way, like if you're only trying to work on it 2 hours in the afternoon and one day on Saturday, like it's going to take it a lot longer to do as well because you have to get everything out and figure out where you were. So like you start working on something and then you pull everything off the boat and then you go back to, working on the boat. Like you got to figure out where you were, what you were doing, what you had left and where you left off. You got to pull all your tools out and then you get to work for an hour and a half and then you pull all your tools back off the boat. So, that kind of throws a whole kink into it as well. As if you don't have the time, like as you can see with this, for the most part, I did, it was every single day. So every single day was putting time in. I had 8 hours, 7.5 hours, 7 hours, 5, 6, 3, 8, 6, 4, 2.5, 2, 10.5, 12.5, 11.5, 8, 2.25, 4.75. It was every day straight. So this was a 3.5 week every single day on the boat. Now, not everybody can do that. Like most people don't have the time to do that. You don't have time. There's no way you're going to be able to work unless you have 4 weeks of vacation, unless you're retired and mobile enough to do it, then 100%, this is exactly what you could do. Only you could probably cut this down. You probably don't need to do 12-hour days. You don't need to do 10, 11-hour days. You could probably bring it down to like 6-hour days and make it easy. It's going to take you maybe 2 months to do it. But yeah, I think for the most part, I would just outsource the stuff you feel uncomfortable with, mainly being like, doing the cushions. To get someone else to do that, that's going to be pretty good. Detailing is going to be expensive because it's a hard work, but the detail, you can outsource that. But everything else, putting the cup holders in. Now, you don't necessarily need to put a jack plate and a Raptor on there, but that was just something that we wanted to do on that boat. So, I get anything specific in your list you recommend leaving to a pro. I'd probably say, well, I don't know. The jack plate and the power pole, those are actually really, really easy to put on. To put on a Raptor and a jack plate, it's actually not near as hard as you might think. It's only bolts. So the biggest thing about putting a jack plate on is having the ability to take the engine off and let it hang there, and then mount the jack plate onto the transom of the boat. And then you need new bolts to go through the jack plate to go through the transom, but you can use your old bolts to mount the jack plate to the transom. But the engine to the jack plate, you need new ones, which are just 3/4 inch bolts, stainless steel with stainless steel nuts. Make sure you use them anti-seize so you don't gall them together. But other than that, there's just wires. Like jack plates are electric, so you run the wiring up to the helm, and there's like a little relay system. Hook it to your battery switch, hook it to ground, put in the rocker switch. It's actually pretty easy. And then the same thing for the Raptor. I mean, even the Raptor or a power pole, any of those shallow water anchors, they're actually really easy to put on, especially if you got a jack plate and you can just mount it to the jack plate. It's pretty much like super self-explanatory on how to do it. And the instructions are really good. So I guess all in your ability, Andrew, and what you feel comfortable doing. I will eventually end up redoing my dad's 18-foot center console. So, yeah, doing an 18-foot center console is going to be way less because you're going to be doing a lot less, depending on as long as your engine's good. But by and large, an 18-foot center console without a jack plate, without a power pole, you're going to be, you might be in that boat for $6,000 if you did all the work yourself. Might take you 120 hours, but I would say for an 18-foot center console, you're anywhere from 100 to 150, depending on how much work it is that you need to do, and probably 5 to 10 grand in parts, depending on what you put into it. Like if you go and you put in a $600 radio with a $1,000 amp and $2,000 in speakers, and you go decking that thing out, then you could definitely bring that bill up quite a bit. And then Fishing Destin says, been following you for a couple of years. Everyone wants their boats to work on, but don't want to pay for quality work. There you go. That's very true, because it's the time factor. I mean, it's the time factor. Everybody wants you to have like a set thing. But when you do projects like this, and especially if you want like, your boat to be redone, like it's time. You can't really estimate how much time you're going to have in it. And if you go out there, if you're in business and you go out there and you think you're just going to throw out numbers and be like, oh yeah, we can do this, we can do that, we can do this, and it's going to be, 10 grand for the whole job. You're probably not close. And it'll probably take you a lot longer to figure that out, because whenever you do projects like this, it is not uncommon for whoever owns the boat to want to add to it, because you're redoing so much stuff that the person that owns the boat is going to be like, hey, while we're in there, let's change out our live well pumps. Hey, while you're there, let's add a spotlight to your T-top. Hey, while you're there, let's go ahead and change out my VHF radio. While you're there adding a spotlight to the boat, you gave them this budget and it's going to cost 10 grand to do it, and they add a spotlight. Well, what spotlight do you want? Oh, we want a 10,000 Illumitech $800 spotlight, and you want to run the wire up through the T-top. So you're going to have another, I don't know, maybe 5 hours in undoing your wires, running a wire up to the T-top, over to your spotlight, installing the spotlight, checking everything, and then cleaning it all up and putting it back together. I mean, it could take another 5 hours. And you start tacking these things on, 5 hours here, 6 hours there, 10 hours there. Like, each job is just add a spotlight. But add a spotlight realistically means 5 hours of labor even at $100 a pop, which is stupid cheap. So that's $500. A Lumitech spotlight is $600, $700, $800. You throw some tax on there, you just added $1,500 to the project, like with just one little task. And now think about that over a big project where, hey, while we're there, let's do the cushions. Well, you got $3,000 in cushions. Like it's, these little add this. And by the end of it, now you've got a $30,000 bill, but you were thinking you had a $10,000 bill, but you just kept adding stuff on there. And so that's why I think doing projects like this, you realistically have to do them by the hour, and then like make sure, like when you work with somebody, that they understand, oh, you want to change this or add that. Well, that's going to be this much. It's not just we're in here, put a spotlight on it. It's 5 hours of running a wire, bolting it down, ordering the part, putting it all together, cleaning it all up. I mean, you're adding a lot of time. So I really don't think that you can do a project like this not by the hour just because of, or any project like that. If you take any boat and you want to get a rewire done or something like that, you're going to get a very big ballpark number. Like they're going to probably say 10 to 20 grand, and that's going to be your ballpark number because there's so many variables. You start, you want to redo your dash, but then all of a sudden half the wires going to the components are bad. So now you spend 20 hours pulling wires to each component, undoing everything and restrapping everything. You just added 2 days of work to what was just clean my dash up. Well, clean your dash up to get all your components to work. You think because you got a new dash in there, all the components are going to work again. When in reality, just the dash isn't going to fix the ultimate problem of all the components working, because all the components on the boat, especially like a 20, 30-year-old boat, the wires are realistically, the boat needs a rewire if it needs a dash. So kind of like, I think just talking to people and getting everybody to understand, like, this is how long it takes to do it. And this is exactly what you're going to get. And if you want all your components to work, that's what it's going to take, opposed to, I think there's a lot of people out there that get a bad rap because, like you said, people don't want to pay for quality work, and therefore there's tons of people out there that make things work where they rip a wire through something, hook it up, and that's it. Like, boom, there you go. They cut all the zip ties out, everything's dangling, everything's messed up, and yeah, this one component works, but now these two things don't work because that got messed up. And so everybody's comparing this price to this price based on, well, this guy will do it cheaper. That's when you kind of got to be like, well, call that guy, have him do it, because yeah, it's a big project. Maverick, are you going to be moving back into a shop? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get into a building to where I can do these kinds of restorations like all the time. Like, I would really like to be able to do, like, even if I was to do one boat a month, that would be awesome. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, is to do more of these projects. And Jupe, looks like that's the last comment that we have is, can you find any speedboats? I mean, what do you really want, Jupe? I mean, as far as um speedboats, I'm not sure exactly what you want. I mean, there's tons of speedboats out there. When you start talking about a speedboat, ultimately you need to realize that it's how fast can you afford to go? That's what it is with boating. How fast can you afford to go? Because the faster you want to go, the more it's going to cost. And as soon as you get to a certain point, it's not really like a speedboat isn't bust out another 1,000. A speedboat is bust out another 10 to 20,000. Like, it's astronomical. Once you break 100 mile an hour, like, it's a totally different world. It's a racing world, completely different. The boats are completely different. They're super light, really high horsepower. You got $12,000 lower units. It's the props are $10,000 a piece. Like, you get into speedboats and racing and stuff, like, that's a whole nother world that, I mean, I don't know a lot about. I mean, you can get speedboats. Like, if you want a recreational speedboat, you can get, a Cigarette, a Donzi, a Midnight Express. You can get, a faster boat, a Nortec. There's a lot of speedboats out there. It just depends on what you want, what you're trying to do, and how much money you got, because you're going to be spending a lot of money. You start getting into speedboats. And also how fast. I mean, there's bass boats that are doing 100. So, that too, but also insurance, because I want to say once you go above like a certain speed, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's 60, maybe it's 50 or 55 or something. Like, once your boat goes over a certain speed, it might be like 60 or something. Maybe it's 65. But once you go over that speed, your insurance like doubles like instantly. So that's also something to think about with speedboats. Jamie Fuentes says you get what you pay for. 100%, Jamie. You get exactly what you pay for. I mean, like, you want cheap work, you're gonna get cheap work. I mean, like, there's thousands of people out there that'll come and work on your boat and make something work just to make it work. Like, but at the same time, boats are recreational and they can get expensive. So you get somebody on your boat that doesn't know what they're doing. I mean, it can get expensive if they mess something up. I mean, like, they put a hole through your boat, they put a hole through your MFD, they drop something on your transducer wire. Like, there's a lot of stuff that could go wrong where you think you're going to get some cheap work done, and they come on your boat, and next thing you know, your $4,000 electronics package ain't working right, and they don't know how to fix it. You can't even get them on the phone no more. Like, definitely something that you can get yourself into a pickle. Let's see here. Maverick says, does it cost money to have a Land and Sea account? I do not think it does. I don't think it does. You have to be a business. You have to have a certain spend. I want to say. I want to say Land and Sea. You have to spend, like, it's something ridiculously low, like $5,000 a year or something like that, or maybe it's not even that. It might even be like 1,000, but maybe it's four. There's like a certain amount you have to spend X amount per year, so it doesn't really cost anything to have the account. But you have to be a business. You have to have a business license. Like, you have to be a legitimate business. You can't just be, you know, Maverick and go get a Land Z account. You got to be a business. But if you're doing work on boats, you should be a business. Like, in general, if you're doing that on the side, you need to make a business. Personally, everybody should have their own business because you're going to save a lot of money on taxes and just in general on your personal finance side. If you have a business where you're doing side work and you can get, an extra 5, 10, whatever. I mean, if you can make an extra 15 grand a year, setting up a business is going to have a lot of benefits as far as saving on taxes and protecting yourself. So, yeah, you got to be a business. So definitely I would recommend doing that if you're working on boats. And then also, S corp, make sure you're an S corp. Don't just do self-employment. Get yourself an LLC business, register as a business, make it an S corp, save yourself some money and make some money. Chad says, any tips on keeping my 1997 Yamaha 90 Precision Blend in tip top shape? So, for sure, the 92 stroke, it's a Yamaha. So the thing, as long as you run it, keep clean fuel to it, and maintenance it, like, that's going to be good to go. Grease everything. We have that video on what we did to our 90. And that's basically what you're going to want to do. So if I were you, do this. You're going to want to do that. And let's see here. Jamie Fuentes also says not everyone out there is ABYC certified or NMEA 2000 MEI certified. Be careful who you hire. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really, really good mechanics out there that aren't ABYC or NMEA or like have certain certifications, but it's definitely gonna be experience. You want somebody that's got experience. Honestly, I know a lot of older, technicians that have been working on stuff for a very long time that don't have any certifications, but they've worked on so much stuff that they know everything. Like, I mean, they can fix anything. So, definitely certification, 100%. People that do certifications and have a lot of certifications and have all the certs, like, not talking bad about that, but there are also some really good mechanics out there that aren't, but definitely get somebody that's like a legit person. Like what you want done, I think a big thing is that what you want done is what you need to hire for. So like if you want cushions made, then hire somebody that makes cushions. You don't go and hire, unless he's a buddy of yours and you're trying to sell him, give him some work. Like you don't go hire your plumber or your electrician or your electronics guy to make your cushions. You go hire somebody that's making cushions because the price is going to be right. They know what they're doing. There's no learning curve there. Like, hire the person that does that. If you've got a Yamaha engine and you need work done on it, I wouldn't necessarily go look at the Merc tech to work on your Yamaha. And then, vice versa. If you got a Honda, the Merc guy might not be the best guy to work on your outboard. Whereas if you got a Merc, the Honda guy might not be the best guy to work on your Merc. So like, I think that's kind of like the first level of like hiring somebody or getting something done. You want somebody that does it like for a living. Like you want somebody that's in it all day, every day, and that's what they do because that's what they know. They're going to be able to do the best work possible because that's what they do. So I'd kind of look at that, but yeah, for sure. So, somebody that does what you're trying to do. Definitely, Chad. No worries. Totally appreciate it. And let's see here. Jeff N says, great session on a boat that's well worth saving. Thanks. For sure, Jeff. You're welcome. Totally glad. And then I'll kind of clean this up too. I've got this whole PDF. I'd like to be able to do this with every single boat. The Key West, I have this information. It's not nearly as fine-tuned as this one, but that's kind of like the kicker of doing something all at once or doing something like, over the period of like 4 months. So definitely I would like to be able to do this with every single boat. That way you guys can kind of see. And then also, I mean, it's kind of like the numbers are also, I'm always going to be trying to put in the MSRPs. I'm not necessarily putting in like what I pay for stuff because, some stuff I have a lot, like, I don't necessarily have to go out and buy polishing pads and buffers and like coat and like there's things that I have to put on there. So I save a lot of money. Like I buy rolls of wire, when we rewire a boat, we don't buy, we need 100-foot of wire for this boat. We buy a 250, 500-foot roll. So that way, we've got it and we pay a lot less. So there's, there's definitely ways to save a lot of money. And if you're doing it more often, then, stacking that inventory is kind of like part of it. But yeah, I'd like to do this a little bit more. Jamie, yes, sir. Hire somebody that works on their stuff. Angel says if I was selling a 86 8 horsepower 2-stroke Yamaha with a bad fuel pump, how much you'd offer? Power head with only 120 hours on it. Well, how much would I offer? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to see what they go for. So here's I'll tell you exactly. I mean, this is what I would do to offer you something for an engine, and this is what you should do if you are trying to buy something. You need to go and look and see what's available. So let's see here. Here's an 8-horse for $600, 2-stroke, and you're talking about a 86. So this one right here is doesn't say what year. I'm looking for a year. Doesn't say a year, but $600. Here's another one for $850. So as of like today, you can get one for $600. Let's see what we got here. Those are all new. Here's an 8. Here's an 8 700, 700. It's a Merc. 1,000, 1,000. Let's go see if we can find. Here's a 91 Johnson for 750. I don't know anything about these, or if they're any good. I should get one of these just to try it and see what's working. Here's a Mariner for $500. Let's see what we got on eBay. Oh, these are all junk. These are not really anything worth comparing. Nothing worth comparing. So there's $400 for that Merc. I'd say I'm probably gonna be somewhere in like, you said it's got a bad fuel pump, so let's see here. Let me find out how much that I'm gonna find out how much that fuel pump is, and then go from that. But are you sure that that's all the problem is? Because if it's got a bad fuel pump and the fuel pump's only $50, then you should put a fuel pump on there to make it work. But if it's not running, that's a whole different story. So as of right now, it's not running, which means I don't know if it's running or not. Is the engine running? If it's running, then I'm saying like $400 or $500. If it's not running, then maybe even a little bit less than that, because it's a 1986 and it's not running. So that means the carburetor needs to be worked on. And does it need a carburetor, or does the carburetor, can it be clean? So, you've got those two variables there. So I'm saying like probably somewhere in the $400 or $500 range is what I'd be offering if I was in the market for an 8 horsepower. Gorilla says there are climber manuals available for working on cars, trucks. Is there something similar with Albert Murray? Yeah, climbers. You can get climber manuals. Boom. All these are climbers. So, whatever you trying to get, they pretty much got them. So, and you can get them, you can come here, figure out which manual you want, and then you can usually go find them on eBay. Someone might have them for cheap. Like, here's tons of them for sale, depending on which one you need for, used. People still want quite a bit for manuals, but yeah, totally. Climbers, definitely. Definitely. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. I think that's it. Unless you guys want something, unless you guys want to talk about something else, that's kind of all I had. I mean, we could go check out, see what kind of news is going on. Pick one up for 150. Oh, you trying to pick up an 8 horse for 150, and then I see what you got going on there. So that's what you're trying to do, is buy one for 150, fix it, and then sell it for like $400 or $500. Make sure there's a market for that. I mean, like, I don't know, just because people got them for sale doesn't necessarily mean that that's really what's going on. Like, that's what people are paying for them. You need to make sure that people are actually still buying that stuff. Let me share the screen. We'll check out a little bit of news real quick. Gotcha. If you got a heavy demand, then I'd be trying to do as many of those as possible then because those are easy fixes. Let's see here. Let me go pull up some news and we'll check out and see what's going on. See here. Boom. Share this. Kind of see what kind of news is going on in the world. And MMA names Hall of Fame inductees. Twin V appoints Chief Technology Officer. National Fishing Hunting Day is the weekend. Let's see about industry news, and then I'll come back to some comments we got. Twin V appoints Chief Technology Officer. Hall of Fame inductees. Aprimar establishes refit division. MRAA scholarship. BRP opens Florida Design Center. The $15 million facility in Palm Bay will be used to bring advanced concepts and designs to the company's marine products. Oh my goodness. There you go, baby. The $15 million. At BRP, innovation runs deep in our DNA, and we are passionate about delivering outstanding writing experiences to our customers all over the world. Oh, yes, you are. That's funny. Notice they don't put a picture of that goat. They don't have that ghost on there in the back. Whale technology bill goes to House. Highfield boats recognize dealers. Catalina dealer announced. Bop, bop, bop. California accepting applications for safety grants. The USC opens educator award applications. Vision Marine offers stock offering. Electric propulsion manufacturer selling 3.4 million shares at an offering price of $1 each to raise capital. I like Vision Marine a lot, but I don't think that company's ever made any money. I don't know. I really like these engines, the whole setup. I mean, I like Vision Marine. Like even the guy that founded it, like they're sick, but I don't think they make any money, which is a problem when you're a business. You need to make money at some point in time. Otherwise, you go out of business. Let's see. CNC Marine announced partner. Bop, bop, bop. Let's see here. Manufacturer news. Anything over here? Time Magazine recognizes Brunswick for the old electric engines. So not a whole lot going on. Boat dealers is always Marine Max stuff. So it's all Marine Max, Marine Max, Marine Max, and technology. Anything technology. Avatar outboard shipped globally. Yamaha names division manager. There's all a lot of old news. Mercury Racing announces new outboards. Mercury Racing announces new outboards. This is old. Introduced yesterday at the Cannes Yachting Festival. The 150R and 200R are based on 3.4 liter V6 power heads. So now you got a V6 150. Mercury Racing yesterday launched two outboards at the Cannes Yachting Festival in Cannes, France. The 150R and 200R outboards are based on the 3.4 liter V6 powerheads that operate on 87 octane gas. 87 octane, baby. With the new 150R and 200R, we are bringing Mercury Racing DNA to our V6 outboard range. So, pretty cool. Sportmaster gear cases, 489 pounds. Performance boats running 85 to 100 miles an hour. 20, 25-inch shafts. Torque Master, Sportmaster. So, other than that, I think that's pretty much it for news. What else you guys got going on over here? Any other topics you want to talk about? Thanks. I'm going to pick one up. Yeah, Angel, if you can buy a bunch of them and unload them, like that's a really good thing. Say Gorilla says Dad has a new 70 horsepower Yamaha on his boat. That helps a lot. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh, you're the one talking about the 18-foot center console. Yeah, dude. If you got a brand new 70 on that biscuit, then yeah, you could I mean, I don't know what kind of boat it is, but depending on the boat and what all you want to do to it, like you could rewire that whole boat for I mean, even if you didn't want it, like depending on what the dash looks like, you can get a new dash from New Wire Marine for, they say it's like they say it's like $50 to $150 per the circuit. So let's say you got, eight circuits being like nav lights, Inca lights, courtesy lights, a GPS, your live well, your bilge. Let's say you got a wash down pump, and let's say you got an accessory. So that's 8 circuits right there at $150 per circuit. It's like obviously you can get it for a lot cheaper. You're gonna be at $1,200. So $1,000 you can put a dash in it, and I bet for another $1,000 you can rewire it and also put pretty much most of the components in it, depending on like your wash down pump and the bilge pump, live well, like what pumps you got. I bet you can rewire for $1,000. So you could probably put a dash and rewire it for $2,000 to $2,500. And then on top of that, whatever you want to do, like, totally, I'd say 5-6 grand for sure in that 18-foot boat, especially if you got a brand new 70 on there. I mean, you're smooth sailing. The cable guy says, I have a Mercury 225 Optimax lower unit with a prop on it. Do you think that I can sell for $200? The prop looked real good. The boat went down and I scrapped it out. I mean, you got a 225 Optimax lower unit, probably more than $200. As long as it's not messed up. Is it a left hand, right hand, 20-inch, 25-inch? Like that's all going to play a big part in it. But a lower unit, I would sell the prop separately. I would take the prop off the lower unit and sell the prop separately. But I mean, wait a minute. Optimax lower unit with a prop on it. Do you think I can sell for 200? You can get way more than $200 for it. The prop looks real good. The bug went down and I scrapped it. So I would sell the prop separately, and I would take that lower unit, and you could probably get $600, $700, $800 out of that lower unit. I bet. I mean, let's look them up. Yeah, I mean, here's a used one, 200, 250. This is an XXL. So that's a 30-inch. That's not a 25 or a 20, depending on what you got. For 800, 900. This is a 20. That's also 700. Yeah, dude, you can get $600, I bet. Depends on what it looks like. I mean, if it's all clapped out looking, you might have to take 500, but you could even paint the lower unit and sell it with nice clean paint on it. Put $50 in paint and 4 hours in work for a couple $100. Yeah, I'd say $500-$600 out of that lower unit. Depending on what that prop is, you could also get good money out of the prop. So, the prop, you can probably get a couple $100 out, separate from that. Angel Hernandez, it's a 5-hour drive to International Falls, and there is heavy demand here in Minnesota. So yeah, if you got a high demand for lower units or little engines, then totally pick them up, clean them up. Pretty much all those little ones fit. I mean, even 25, you can go all the way up to a 25 horsepower. I mean, that might be pushing it, because some of them 25s are more problems than you want because of the water tubes mess up on them. But then again, you live in Minnesota, so you're talking about freshwater stuff, not saltwater. Totally different world. And also you got to make sure that none of the blocks are cracked, but it's an outboard, so I would guess that most of them drain out. Like, if you got it tilted down, it's going to drain out of the water. So hopefully you can find them without cracked blocks. But If you don't, then, you know, pretty much all of them, let's go to a 15 horsepower just because the 2025 is a little bit bigger. If you go up to a 15, pretty much the main problem with most of those engines are carburetors. That's it. Like, there's a bad fuel pump or the carburetor needs messed with. Generally, the fuel pumps aren't the biggest problem. It's the carburetors, because if you put ethanol in it, now it's all gummed up. And if you let it sit, then it varnishes. You got all kinds of problems. Usually it's bad gas, dirty gas left in there, and you got to clean the carburetors. After you clean the carburetors, the engines are good to go. And that's by and large on any of the 2.5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9.9, 15. Like a lot of those little engines, clean the carburetor, and most of them work unless it's got an electrical issue, but there's not a lot going on there. Jamie Fuentes, your videos are awesome, brother. Thank you, Jamie. And then, will you be at IBEX next week? No, I will not be at IBEX. I got way too much going on. I don't really get to go to any boat shows, stuff like that. I got way too much work to be able to go to shows. I would like to be able to go to more, but at the same time, I got to make money. And let's see here, the cable guy, right hand, 25 inch. So yeah, dude, you're probably $500-600 for that lower unit. Gear oil looks new. Anybody buying a gear case should change the lower unit oil anyway. Like if you buy a used gear case and you don't change the oil in it and go ahead and throw an impeller on it when you get it because you've already got it off. I mean, for $40 maybe to put a new impeller and gear lube in it, like, yeah, I wouldn't worry about the gear lube. If it's clean, then yeah, then maybe $600. Maybe you get 600. I didn't look at the brand of the propeller. Dude, propellers are expensive, especially for a 225 Optimax. I mean, you could have a Rev 4, you could have a Mirage, you could have an Inertia. Like, you might have a $600, $700, $800 propeller that you're sitting on. So you might be over. You were thinking you only got $200, but you might have over $1,200. So yeah. See, look at that. Making you money, the cable guy. Kuda says, I have a 1982 OMC Evinrude 60 horsepower, runs great in the water, but when I hook her up to the earmuffs, it just starts increasing in power and over revs. I don't know why it's doing that. Please help. It's a 60 horsepower, runs great in the water, but when I hook her up to the earmuffs, it just starts increasing in power and over revs. I don't know why it's doing that. I mean, generally, if it's out of the water, it's going to be like the RPM is going to be up because there's no back pressure on the prop. But I mean, if it over revs, I don't really know. I mean, no idea why I would do that. If it runs fine in the water, I would forget about it, because whatever it is, that back pressure, if you put that thing in there and every day of the week you can go and start it and run it and like have no problems, then don't go messing with it. Like, you're talking about an 18 on 24, that's going to be 46. No, 18 on 24 is going to be 30. Yeah. 42. You're talking about a 42-year-old engine. So don't go getting too. That's the thing, is you're talking about a 42-year-old piece of equipment. Like, if you go getting too messing with it, like, you can mess it up. Like, leave well enough alone right there. Trento Webb says, got a 99 115 that is hard to start. Replace the fuel pump lines, bulb. Any ideas to troubleshoot further? Yeah, put a clear hose on there. If it's hard to start as far as you have to prime it with the primer bulb, or it just turns over and doesn't start. A 99 is going to be a 2-stroke. Once you get it started, does it run well? I mean, I would make sure that it's getting good, clean fuel, and that you got all the spark. You got good spark plugs. Your carburetors are clean. I just go over the basics. Merc 115. Yeah, I'd go over all the basics. It's probably going to be If it's carbureted, probably clean your carburetors. I'd clean the carbs first. The cable guy, I changed the water pump and all the fluids when I got a motor, usually 25 horsepower and lower. I mess with as a hobby. There you go. Once you get in them 25s, even them 25s can get pretty heavy. I mean, a 25 horsepower four stroke is like 100 and I don't know how 25 horsepower. 143 pounds, or yeah, 126 to 143 pounds. So yeah, once you get over 20, you get past the 15s, them things get heavy. Like when you're trying to muscle that thing around. Gorilla says, "How did you learn your trade? I will be retired in less than 5 years and want to be able to do the majority of the maintenance on the boats I eventually own." Um, just doing it, just doing it. That's pretty much it. I'm pretty much that's all I do. I mean, I work on boats, so been working on boats for 13 years, and every day, like it's never really been a job for me. Like a lot of people see it as a job. So I enjoy the water. I like the boats. I like different boats. I like to go through the stuff. So for me, it's more of a hobby and it's what I do, opposed to like people that treat it as a job, because I know there's a lot of mechanics out there that like they are a mechanic as a job. Like they're there to do the work. They put their 40 hours in and then that's it. For me, I would work at a marina. I was there for the 40 hours, but then whenever the marina closed, I was still there till 8 or 9 o'clock at night, working on my own boats, doing my own stuff. On the weekends, I'm out on the water after work. I'm doing sunset cruises, fishing, doing whatever. So, like for me, I've just it's what I do. It's all I do. So, um, yeah, that's kind of how I learned it. But other than that, I think we're kind of wrapping up. I don't think unless anybody else has any other questions, bring them out and we'll talk about it. If not, then kind of close down here. Been an hour and 15 minutes. So let me know if you guys want to talk about anything else before we get out of here for today. Dylan Smith says, I have a 2-stroke 115 outboard after I run it for a while. And when I let it sit for maybe an hour or so and try to start it up again, it won't turn over. Any tips? Heat, most likely vapor locking, either a vent's messed up or you've got the fuel is getting warm and vaporizing and it's vapor locking. So I'd be looking at heat is what I'd be looking at. So yeah, anytime you have a hot start issue, it's generally the fuel is basically vapor locking your engine because the fuel's heating up. As soon as you turn the engine off, it's just sitting there getting hotter. So yeah, I'd be looking to make sure if you got a fuel cooler on there or anything, make sure that is working right. Make sure your telltale's working right. Make sure your thermostats are working right. Poppet valve's working right. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna be looking at there, Dylan. And let's see, anything else? Gorilla, have a great evening and thank you for all the info. Absolutely, Gorilla. Thank you for hanging out. Cutta says, I have a 30-foot Grady with twin 2008 250 Yamaha 4-strokes. Ran great for a while, but the port engine all of a sudden shut off one day while riding. We think it is the exhaust, but not sure. Well, I hope it ain't the exhaust, bro, because if you got an exhaust, that means like if it just shut off, then you've got a bigger problem than that. Like the a 2008 250 didn't really have the exhaust manifold problems like a lot of the earlier ones, the 03, actually 02, 03, 04, or maybe not, maybe it is, yeah, 02, 03, 04, and then even in like 05. Those are your midsections. 2008s really didn't have that. you might have something else going on there because, yeah, you got to do some investigating, Cutta. You got to do some investigating because you ain't got a whole lot going off there. Because when an engine just shuts off, either it lost power or the fuel pump died and it's not getting fuel, like there's something there, or it blew up, which hopefully it didn't blow up. So yeah, you kind of you need to do some investigating there. Dylan says, would cleaning the carbs with seafoam or something like that help? I mean, it can. You can try that, but I don't think that's your problem. I don't think it's a carb issue. I think I mean, it could be a carb issue, but also so a good way to explain it is that depending on like how you have everything set up, fuel heats up. So as fuel heats up, as it's sitting there, you got your carbs, right? And two things: either one, whenever the fuel heats up, it expands. So when it expands, it pushes it up. So your carburetors then are like it's just pushing the fuel up into the carburetor, which floods it. And once it's flooded, now it's not going to start because it's flooded. So that's the reason the fuel is heating up. Like that's what you need to. It's not that the carburetors are dirty; it's that they're flooding, and that's kind of the hard start issue. Um, no fishing, no life. No fishing, no life. You don't even fish and you don't have a life. Is that what you're telling me here, bro? It says I have 90 horsepower two stroke keeps was running great, then suddenly only goes up to 4,000, then revs down and up almost like it's getting air in the line. What should I check? I mean, I check fuel, make sure you're getting fuel. Like any kind of surging like that is generally fuel. So put a clear hose on there and make sure you're not getting any air in your fuel. But that'd be kind of what I'd be looking at is fuel delivery system and making sure that you're getting proper fuel and the right volume of fuel. The cable guy says, yeah, thanks for everything, your videos and the live streams, answering my questions too. Yes, sir. Go make that money. The prop is a Quicksilver Laser 2. Let me look that up real quick. And then Cutta, I did see you. You can buy those Laser 2s new for $400. So you could probably get one. You could probably get 150 to $200 out of your prop. People are trying to sell them for 300, but there's two of them right here for 175 and $200. So you probably get $200, $300 out of the prop. I mean, depends on the condition. Let me share this just so you can see. So there you go. 13 by 7/8 by 21. That's a left-handed. They want 475. Here's one. See, this is going to be new from Great Lakes. Most likely. Yeah, this is a brand 59 in stock. This is a brand new prop for $400. So, I would say depending, on all the stuff. That's the 19. Depending on everything, here's 300 for one, 200 for one. I mean, these don't look 175. That doesn't look the best. Yeah, this thing's seen better days. Yeah, this one's been eaten up. Looks like it. I don't know. Got some pizza back there. Old boy getting some pizza. As long as it looks better than that. That one looks like it's got cavitation on it. But this one on the back of the truck bed looks decent. I don't know. He's been getting shallow. Look at that. You might be able to get like maybe 300, maybe. Here's a used 300. That one's look at this. What are people are trying to sell? Look at that bad boy. Look at them chips out the top of that blade. Look at how. Yeah, man, look at this thing. If you can get a brand new one for $400, I don't see why someone's going to pay $300 for this. This thing is, look at that. The whole blade is just be getting shallow in some sand and rocks. Here's a laser 525. So the one from Great Lakes, that one must be a super common one or something, because here's a brand new one for 525. Yeah, I'd say $300-400, what you're gonna be looking like. Kata says it was able to restart after it shut off and run normal, but it didn't it again the next time. Okay. It was able to restart after it shut off and run normal, but it did it again the next time out. We already replaced our fuel lines, but nothing changed. Yeah, I don't know if your fuel line's gonna be a problem. Something else can be your problem. If it just shuts off, could be if the fuel pump going bad. I mean, like, hard to say. I mean, you need to check your fuel pressure, check your spark plugs, and then also like there's a on those 3.3 liter F250s. There's a like purge valve, or not purge valve, but like it's like a check valve that's like a recirc check valve in on by the VST. But pull the VST out, clean it, see what's going on. Like, you're gonna have to do some investigating, my friend. Maverick says, I think he means he wouldn't have a life without fishing. Yeah, that's probably what it was. You confused me. Confused me, bro. Dylan Smith says, do you have any quick tips for troubleshooting for the vapor lock? Yeah, it's heat, dude. You gotta look for the heat, and it's that fuel. That fuel's getting pushed up into it's getting pushed into the carburetor, which is flooding the carburetor, which is then making you not be able to start. So check your fuel lines, check for the vent on the fuel tank, make sure that there's nothing wrong with the vent on the fuel tank that's making it do that. And make sure you don't have a fuel line that's like laying on the block getting hot, like something like that. That's kind of where I would start to look. I don't even remember what 115 outboard. All right. I think that is all of everybody's questions. So, Cable Guy, thank you. Thank you, Cable Guy, everybody, for hanging out. So, yeah, we'll have a few videos coming this week and maybe even the beginning of next week with the Key West, just finishing some stuff up on that. And then there'll be all the videos of that Boston Whaler. And then after that, I'll probably have more Key West stuff come out after that. But then I'm looking to get another boat. So we'll see. You'll see what it is whenever I get it. Other than that, everybody, thanks for hanging out. Last chance on any questions, down to 30 people. So I think we'll go ahead and end it there. Everybody have a great week. Thank you for hanging out. Thanks for all the questions. Thank you for all the support. Anybody that's joined the Boaters program, if you like this kind of thing, join the Boaters program, because we do this weekly. It's more, there's not 1,000 people in there, but plenty of time, one-on-one, look up news, stuff like that, talk about, see what's going on. So if you want, check out the Boaters program. Also, fishing shirts, any of that stuff helps support the channel. So you guys have a great weekend. See you later. Or weekend. It's middle of the week. I don't even know my days. Anyway, see ya.